actually, to the library for asking me to participate. I really appreciate it. My contribution here is called Sentiments of an Immigrant or of a Blow-In, and I'll tell you what that is in a second. Now, do I detect an accent, I'm often asked? Yes, I'm a double transplant. You may recognize some British-flavored Irish brogue. I studied and taught English in Germany and then lived in Ireland for almost 20 years. Since I've been in the States, I learned to use the words cart instead of trolley, gas instead of petrol, yet in winter, I still wear woolly jumpers. My American husband and I have had great fun learning a new vocabulary this way. He still acts as an interpreter at times. At the same time, he appreciates English subtitles when watching Irish or English movies. It's easier for him too. So generally I do get by, although phone conversations can still prove tricky, especially when I get another non-native English speaker on a customer service line, for example last week, like Jimmy from the Philippines. We cannot communicate. My first hurdle was Ireland, the first stop of my migration on this planet. Normally it's the Irish who emigrate to America or to England. Few people actually immigrate into Ireland. We moved to Ireland not as refugees, but for environmental reasons, so that our children would grow up free from pollution and the nuclear scare of the arms race of the late 1980s. We already spoke the language and we tried to get accustomed to the Irish culture while bringing part of our customs with us. It's hard to give up things you're used to, even simple things, like foods or holidays. As an immigrant, you better blend in, because it doesn't work the other way around. No way can you reshape a country to your own customs. Children pick up the language faster than adults and take on accents easily. Within a year, both my children, aged 6 and 4, spoke fluently with an Irish accent. I stuck out with my BBC English that I had been taught at uni. We were blow-ins, as they say in Ireland. Well, why did I come to America? Like many a German woman, I fell in love with an American guy and got married here. But again, I stick out with my accent. I will never sound American, I know that. There are 2 episodes in my early days of being here that I want to share with you that I will never forget. One was when I was helping as a volunteer on the oncology ward in the Mayo Clinic. I simply offered warm blankets to patients and asked them if they wanted anything to drink or to eat. And instead of a simple yes or no, this tattooed, ponytailed elderly man from the Deep South, who also missed a few teeth, replied, "You talk funny." That's my best imitation of it anyway. Quick-mouthed as I'm prone to be, I said, "You do too." And I turned around. He never got a blanket or something too. He hadn't asked for it. So. The other episode was my husband and I were cycling along our new neighborhood, and a car turning right without using an indicator almost knocked me off my bike. The driver gets out of the car, and instead of apologizing, she says to me, "You weren't even born here," when she hears me speak. I don't know what I said, "What the heck," or something like that. I said, just these few words were sufficient for her to say, "You weren't even born here." Okay, from my point of view, it is essential that newcomers to a country should embrace the language and make a real effort to learn it, instead of staying in their comfort zone where people only speak their own language. Immigration means assimilation, not creating ghettos. I've seen examples of this in my home country, Germany, where immigrants from all over the world stick to their own language and let the children take charge and oftentimes translate. The older generation will find it difficult to live abroad and love their new home if they can't communicate. I also know from my own mother-in-law, previous mother-in-law, that it is hard to transplant an old tree. That's what she said. For immigrants, it's hard work to catch up on a new country's history, its politics, sports, or even TV shows that were famous here and that you've never heard of. And then also to think and talk in a language other than your own mother's tongue all the time. As a newcomer to any country, you see things differently, have a different take on matters. Not that you are always welcome to voice your opinion, as I quickly learned when I came to the States. Especially when it comes to politics, I heard phrases like, well, if you don't like it, why don't you go back to where you came from? True. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. But does that mean one has to keep quiet on certain issues because one is an immigrant? While you do your best to assimilate and blend in, your heart and soul are often torn because you also want to maintain your cultural and your personal identity, your spirit. Maintain things that formed you and are deeply ingrained in you to the extent that it can make your heart bleed. At least nowadays we can hop on a plane and visit our home country in contrast to years gone by when a ticket for a ship to America was usually one way only and farewell forever. No matter why people emigrate, whether you are a refugee and move out of fear for your life, out of economic reasons, or opportunities that you wouldn't have had otherwise, or simply out of love, as I did, immigrants will miss their home. And there is a German word that means home and homeland, and so much more. And the German word is Heimat, in case you have some German vocabulary. And I'd like to read a short quote from my book where I'm defining this Heimat bit. What is home anyway, I pondered. This concept, well, I was in Ireland at the time, okay? What is home anyway, I pondered. This concept, grounded for me in the German word Heimat, cannot be translated into one English word. It is the place where you were born, where your cradle was, where you grew up, went to school, etc. Or where you settled as an adult and had a family. Home is where your heart is, I hear people say. Wherever it may be, it gives you a sense of belonging. But what if you don't have a home anymore in the broader sense of Heimat? By that, I don't just mean a roof over your head and your family, I mean from the standpoint of refugees who have to leave their country for whatever reason and settle in elsewhere, and for reluctant expatriates like me. In contrast to Irish, English, or American people, I have no great sense of patriotism. As a post-war German, you are not brought up to be proud of your nationality, or country, or its achievements, even though they exist. As a German, even almost 80 years after the war, you still tread carefully when mentioning your nationality, depending on what country you're in. People have a reason to hold bad associations that you really can't fault. It's not surprising when your kids are being called Nazis or Hitler in school that you start to feel funny. And I'll stop at that, so far from Heimat, and the last sentence on that. My question was really, do you pine more for your lost Heimat when you get older? My ex-mother-in-law had refused to come live with us in Ireland. Admittedly, our house was not quite up to her standards, but on principle, she maintained that you couldn't transplant an old tree. Or is it actually youth one longs for when wanting to go back to a place in one's past that felt like home? So much for the quote. I also want to mention that I have an international women's club that I founded here in Jacksonville when I first came 10 years ago. And I'm inviting every woman who would like to meet other Bluents like me to join us just for a monthly lunch on the first Wednesday of each month. I brought 3 of our flags. We have people from many parts of the world. You see the Irish, the German, and the American there, because we also have a token American in our club. I wrote 2 books. The first book is I Once Had a Farm in Ireland, which explains why I ended up in Ireland. And the second one, Next Time Lucky. Lisa quoted the first version, subtitled Confessions of a Dating Guru or Matchmaker. I changed it to How to Find Your Mr. Right, which is very timely, thinking about Valentine's Day coming up. And it explains how I ended up in America. And I also wanted to mention again, at least I did that already before kindly, that I'm a member of the National League of American Penwomen, and some of them are here. One is another speaker, and others seek to support me and us here, and I appreciate that. And this is a professional organization for women of letters and the arts nationwide that was founded in 1897 by a bunch of very courageous women writers who were not allowed to become journalists, never mind vote or something like that. So, and just let me finish with this one statistical fact that you might not be aware of. I looked it up and was surprised to see it. Did you know that 58 million, or 70% of Americans, trace their ancestry back to Germany? And that Irish is the second most common ancestry among Americans, falling just behind German with 11.1%. Do we have any first-generation immigrants here? Could I see a sign of hand? Okay, thank you. That's all I wanted to say. Oh, sorry, the books are available in the library here on loan if you'd like to take them out. Thank you.